Hey everyone, and welcome to our review of Nexomon Extinction. This review was written by our man Alex Grave and the video was edited by myself. Let's see what Alex thinks of this Pokemon wannabe. The game opens up as the most wooden narrator I've ever heard gives us the usual speech about how humans and these monsters called Nexomon have lived together in harmony for ages. However, legends tell of a time immemorial where big bad Nexomon called Omicron ruled as king over the lesser Nexomon and waged a brutal war against humanity. A group of brave youths, however, managed to stand up against this beast and use their own Nexomon companions against him, finally bringing an end to the strife and making the Nexomon our allies for good. All is still not completely well in today's Nexomon world though, as we soon come to learn, as our hero, whose name and appearance is of your deciding, is scheduled for a ceremony where you and along with 3 other youths are to receive your very first Nexomon partner and become a real tamer. Yay! Your first task is, along with your friends, to venture into the nearby forest and find the buddy of your destiny. I guess they expect a random Nexomon will just spring out of a bush and decide to be a friend, maybe? But it quickly goes horribly wrong. A fierce dragon descends from the sky and assaults you and your buddy Coco, a talking cat. The dragon is about to make short work of you two when a mysterious girl suddenly appears before you, warning you of the dangers you will face in the future, and offering you a choice between 9 different starters, 1 of each element. The dragon, of course, makes mincemeat out of you and your mon, but just as it seems you're all done for, a nearby gravestone magically disappears, revealing a cave entrance that you can escape through. You later learn that although an ancient hero defeated the big bad Omicron eons ago, the world has long been tottering on the brink of extinction, as so-called tyrants, vile beasts who are seemingly able to control dragons like the one that attacked you, threaten to destroy the world. I gotta say, for a world that everyone keeps reminding you is on the brink of collapse, it sure looks green and peaceful to me. Thus, it is up to you to travel the world, climb the monster tamer ranks and build a strong, competent team and save the world once more. While Nexomon opens up with a dark and serious tone and even sports some really creative monster designs of its own with no less than 381 to collect, it quickly drops the ball and becomes a parody Pokemon ripoff. After battling the aforementioned dragon, you meet the ghost of an old tamer who proceeds to teach you how to catch Nexomon with so-called Nexo traps that are devices literally colored the same as Pokeballs, and your annoying cat partner will remark that you probably need to weaken them before you can catch them, while also picking up everything from potions, revives, ethers, and so on. Moving around on the overworld, you battle trainers who so kindly have swords over the head to signify that they want to battle with you, and while moving through tall grass, walking into a patch that shakes will result in a Nexomon encounter. Wild battles are exactly what you remember from Pokemon. Damage the creature and your chance of a successful capture increases, with status effects and even feeding the Nexomon further improve your catch rate, which I did admittedly think was a neat idea, as well as PP being switched out for an overall energy meter. That seemed like a good idea at first, but soon turns out less so. You ready your Nexo trap with L and R simultaneously, and then have to press a series of buttons in order to catch it. As with traditional Pokemon games, you can of course only carry 6 with you at a time, with new party members, if you don't decide to swap them with your party, being sent to the storage system. And normally one of the things that I love about these games is to catch everything in an area before moving on, but with money being small and Nexo traps being so expensive, I quickly gave up on that hobby, which kind of goes against the entire idea of the game, right? Tamer battles are a bit different than we're used to, as they will actively switch out their Nexomon up several times during battle in favor of one that is more strong against yours, which caught me off guard at first. It was kind of annoying, but nevertheless clever. My problem with the slightly more clever opponents, however, goes back to when you choose your starter. Remember when I told you that you get to choose between not only the classic 3 starter types, but the entire spectrum? I always wondered why Pokemon always limits your choice down to these 3, and it got me thinking. Grass, fire, and water are the 3 most basic monster types, and early on in any Pokemon game, all you meet are like normal flying grass bug Pokemon, with other types as well as type combinations appearing later on when you've grown accustomed to the rules. By giving you all 9 to choose from the beginning, you may at first think that the game is generous and be like, cool, I can start with a psychic type. But what the game actually does is require you from the start to master the strengths and weaknesses of all 9 types, instead of easing you in. Because guess what? Since you have access to all 9 types from the get-go, so do your opponents. And even if you know the classic type weaknesses, you aren't going to know for sure what type all these weird new monsters are and what they're weak to. Sure, I assume the pink spiral was a symbol for psychic, but how would I know what psychic is weak to in this universe? Not to mention that even the first trainers that you meet in this game are stronger than any bug catcher you would ever meet in Route 1 in Pokemon. Plus, many of the tamers also challenge you to a rematch, but they are ready to go for one so quickly after beating the first time. It feels like an excuse just to grind for more levels to get past the difficulty spike. Not to mention that they will force you to battle upon eye contact, meaning if you're on the way back to heal and you didn't see a tamer that you thought you beat already, your ass is toast. These mind-numbing imbalances aside, the game plays out more or less like your typical monster catcher, only you climb guild ranks like I mentioned before instead of collecting badges. One of the things you can do to climb the ranks is taking quests, either from strangers with a star over their heads in the cities or in the wild, or by talking to this lady who clearly got out of the wrong side of the bed in the morning. Speaking of which, had I not had to review this game, I would have dropped my controller and moved on with my life just from how rude the very first quest client was to me. No, seriously, everyone in this game, except your 2 mentors and a few strangers, they are complete arseholes. Barring the quests, of which there are over 500 that are divided into main and side quests, it is literally the same as Pokemon, but just not as good, meaning that you may as well just, well, play Pokemon. You know what was an interesting Pokemon clone that also managed to have an identity of its own? 2 little games known in Japan as Keitai Denui Telefang, or Mobile Phone Beast Telefang, better known in the West as the pirate bootlegs Pokemon Diamond and Jade, wherein the main character traveled to the world of so-called electric monsters via an antenna tree and caught them, in quotes, by beating them in battle and adding their phone numbers to his contacts and summoning them to battle depending on your reception. See, that short summary already sounds way more creative and interesting than Nexomon, which is very by the books. It was the same premise of collecting monsters and doing battle, but while bringing a new clever concept to the table. Alas, I'm getting off track. Let's move on. In terms of the audio, although I did make fun of the comically jumpy piano piece that plays in the first forest, I actually found the game to have decent enough music. Hit and miss for sure, but I did actually manage to find a few favorites. The battle theme though, at least in my opinion, is what you're all here for, was generic and nothing to write home about. To quickly refer back to my favorite Pokemon clone, Telefang, it's had a goofy but ultimately, at the very least, catchy tune that I always look forward to hearing, and more importantly, I am still humming to this day 20 years later. This ain't it. I mean, the game doesn't even have a victory jingle for when you catch wild Nexomon. What's up with that? Contrary to some of my gripes, the graphics here are actually bright and colourful and really bring the world around you to life with various sceneries, NPCs, character portraits, and of course the stars of the show, the creatures themselves, which are all very nicely animated during battle. I even liked how much the characters emote by often displaying various emoticons above their heads to reflect their current emotional state. What I didn't like, yeah, I'm just adding to the pile here, was the lack of something that Pokemon has done ever since the early Game Boy days, showing yourself and your opponent on screen as they send out their Pokemon. As it stands, whether you battle a tamer or a wild monster, you simply enter a battle screen with 2 Nexomon ready to duke it out. I know these are small details, but come on now. The game is advertised as being a return to classic monster catching games, and that apparently constitutes doing away with modern conveniences and slacking on the details. There's no flavor text either when you examine various objects to learn more about the world. The footage you see here was recorded with the Switch's capture function in both docked and handheld mode, and it ran smoothly for the most part. Although I imagine you are now taking that statement with a little bit of salt, coming from the guy who claimed that Fairy Tail ran well. Although I do also swear I did catch it stuttering here and there, sometimes in big areas, though nothing that hindered the experience. The game itself took care of that part. Ooh. Oh, and don't be fooled by the creature that follows me. Those are so-called followers that you can unlock. They are not monsters or part of my actual team, they are just there for show. Just thought I'd add that in. In terms of value, clocking in at £16.99 on a normal day, money that made me glad that I got a review copy, the game does give you value for your money with an original story that did admittedly start to grab me. There are plenty of quests that reward you handsomely and a plethora of unique and colourful monsters to catch with even cooler evolutions. If what you're looking for is Pokemon on a budget. Sure, I know the latest game, Sword and Shield, made a lot of decisions that split the fanbase down the middle, including cutting the monster roster in half, leaving many favorites out, some of my own included. But for more than triple the price of this game, it is still an infinitely better crafted and more balanced experience with much better dialogue and actually takes itself seriously. Overall, as a parody luring you in with its exciting thumbnail, Nexomon's entire identity quickly boils down to being just that. having little more going for it than making fun of what came before it and the tropes that it entails. While witty dialogue may be for some, and while I myself don't mind a couple of in-universe jokes here and there, like a guy complaining why you can only carry 6 creatures with you at a time, having the scripts being nothing but jokes and sarcasm just takes me out of the experience and completely breaks my immersion. Add that to the imbalanced nature of the game means that you're left with a game that really does nothing to stand out from so many Pokemon fan hacks that have come before it. The pretty graphics, and for the most part the well-composed soundtrack, are the only redeeming qualities for me personally, and are why I'm going to score it as high as I'm about to. For people who can put up with the negatives that I've explained, or who just want a Pokemon game that doesn't have Pokemon in the title, it may rank higher for you. But for me personally, for Alex, it's a 6 out of 10. I was mixed on Pokemon Sword when I picked it up, but I appreciate it a whole lot more now. This game, on the other hand, only served to remind me why apparently only Game Freak can do this right. Then again, I imagine 25 years of experience will do that. Alright, thanks to Alex for putting this review together. Must admit, I'm a bit disappointed with how this one has turned out, as I did have my eye on it. How about you guys? Are you happy with it just being like a knockoff, generic kind of thing? Or were you hoping for something a bit more? Do let us know. Many thanks to our executive producers, God of Resin, Gannicus, Dane Wilkinson, Brett McLean, and Jonathan Rumor. Thank you for your incredible support. We really appreciate it. Plus, you watching. If you've watched it all the way to this point, you are a legend. The longer you watch, the better it is for us. Be sure to check out some other reviews from Alex he's done for us in the past, that you can see what kind of taste that he has. We'll see you guys over there. Take care.